Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jillian Mariscal. I'm part of the Black VegFest team, and this is the Breakout Black Veg podcast. Now, today I have a really great, I say this every episode, but I'm excited about it because it was a learning process for me too, and I'm glad to teach this to you. And this is how we are learning all together as a community to eat healthier and be healthier because it's about educating ourselves. Um, as I learned about amaranth, it seems like a simple grain, but it really forces me to believe about the food justice and what the work we're doing. I mean, this grain should have been known to us, but it's been lost, the information, and even banned at one point. So we're gonna get into that in a second. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but today we're talking about amaranth. Amaranth. Okay. Um, so like I said, I want to get into talking about it, but let me first talk about what we did last week and show you the pie that you missed if you weren't there. Woo, cheesecake. This is cheesecake sweet potato pie. And remember, we can do sweet cheesecake pumpkins, cheesecake, whatever flavor you want. I chose to do sweet potato. This is a whole one, but because my family just ate the whole second, the other slice. But I'm going to slice it for you real quick and show you from last week, just so you can see it, because last week the crust, I wasn't crazy about that crust. Always make sure your crust is vegan. Look at the ingredients. Don't assume. Also, we discussed making our own crust out of graham crackers that don't have honey, because the honey is obviously not vegan. And then adding sugar and coconut oil or butter. But I just want to show you this to make up from last week and show you real quick again. Let's see, I have a little plate here. I have this little plate. This is the cheesecake. I hope you make it. My son devours this, and it's so creamy. It actually tastes like cheesecake. But it has that texture, that cheesecake texture. It's not. Let me show you. Let me just show you what I mean. Yummy. Can you see that? Yum. So I'm gonna be posting this recipe soon, but it's also a little bit different from the one I found online. I've been changing it every year because it's one of my favorite ones to make. But we're not making this today. I'm just showing you what you missed last week. Okay? All right. So today we're talking about amaranth, right? I want to tell you a quick story of why I'm talking about amaranth. It's November. We're going into Thanksgiving. Uh, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving traditionally like I used to because I'm more, my mindset is about decolonization and not following a cookie cutter idea of a holiday that had nothing to do with that day, and then what happened afterwards, just tragedy. So I just feel funny celebrating things like that. Anyway, obviously, but as I'm learning about indigenous culture, I'm learning about more history that has not been told to us. It upsets me because as I looked at amaranth, I was like, oh, that's white people food. That's like unhealthy food that people eat. I don't eat that. But this is indigenous to Mexico and Guatemala. I'm Central American. I'm Panamanian. I mean, I love Mexican food. I've been to Mexico. Didn't never heard of this. Didn't never heard of this. I had to be taught by Bob's Red Mill. Really? Look, I'm gonna show you real quick. So Bob's Red Mill, bless his heart, he tried, but it's not really. I mean, take it for him to be teaching us about our own ancient grains, like our own things. So I was reading it and it says, look, grains of discovery. Who discovered it? Let's, wait a minute. Like that bothered me. I was like, wait, who's discovering this grain? This grain has been around since the Mayans and the Aztecs. Okay. So let's talk about that first. Like, grains of discovery. He did not discover, like, I don't know who he thought discovered this, if he's like now reintroducing it to us here and like, oh, look, we discovered it for you. No, it was because it was taken away from us, the information. And that's due to colonization. And I'll explain to you. So when this grain was popular between the Aztecs and the Mayans, they used it for medicinal reasons. They used it for coloring for dye. Actually, the dye is banned in certain forms. Because it comes in different colors. I'll show you real quick. This is the actual amaranth, how it looks. There's leaves that are edible as well. It is such a fully edible and natural growing leaf. So when the Mayans and Aztecs were using this for everything, and when the Spaniards came in 1500s, they banned it. They banned it from the Mexicans using it because they said it was pagan or some sinful thing. So basically banning something so staple, like as vegans, we believe that these types of foods can end world hunger. I mean, the amount that is grown with, look at the seeds, how they look. This produces so many seeds. And as you'll see when we're cooking with it, just a little bit goes a long way. So it's just like rice, like these staple grains that actually that we should be knowing was banned. And that I think had a very good reason for control. That's my idea for like why the Spaniards would ban amaranth, knowing that it was so widely used at the time. So that's I mean, when I talk about these recipes to you, it is not about just learning a new recipe. It's about relearning ancient education, like things that we should have known and been passed down by our ancestors, but we're not able to because of colonization. All right. So that's just that's why I'm up to here. And coincidentally, November is the time when it's flowering, the first week of November, which is this week. So this would be actually flowering now during the time of the Day of the Dead, the week of the Day of the Dead. So this is a really good time to talk about it. And as I went vegan and I talked about, I was doing client work. One of the clients introduced me to it, and then I've been hooked. So I've been learning recipes that I've created myself that we're going to talk about today. But also, there's so many online you can find, not just from the leaf or the grain, but the actual leaf of the amaranth has so much vitamins. Actually, it has more iron than spinach. Okay, the leaf of the amaranth. These, believe it or not, can be weeds, can be looked at as weeds, but they're healthy, like dandelions, except dandelions are bitter. These are not bitter. So these leaves are actually really good to eat with onions and saute it, or you can have it in soup. So this is such a versatile type of plant. And that's why it's so important that we educate ourselves on these really basic things that could become staples in our house. Like we're always talking about how to be smart with our money and our food. Beans last a long time, rice, amaranth, couscous, like have that in your house and you don't have to worry about food. Like, and we're going to be healthy. We don't have to worry about our health as much either. So this is just something that I was just so mind blown as I was researching it more. I was like, wow, I want to find the leaves. How can I find the leaves? Why shouldn't I be able to find this easily? And of course, whenever there's a ruling over people, the good way to rule people is to food, right? Because they have to eat. So if you rule their food and you control their food, you control the people. So not knowing this and not be able to be independent and having this information so that we don't have to rely fully on supermarkets and things like that, that's control. That's a form of control. So hopefully this type of education is really important for understanding that there's so much to learn about vegan food. It's not just about eating like greens and stuff like that. It's about relearning a lot of things that people say, our ancestors ate like this. They ate meat. No, they actually ate a lot of vegan food that we just don't know about. So we're relearning it. Okay? All right, so let's get to cooking a little bit. I have this recipe I made for one of my clients who was diabetic, is diabetic. And so this really helps reduce a lot of the starches that they're not supposed to be having because it's a gluten-free recipe. This is a seed. So this recipe uses fresh seasonal fruit. In this case, we're going to be doing pears. And I roasted the pears, but before I show you how I roasted them, but this is such a great breakfast menu, what we're doing. But this could be used for breakfast, dessert, depending on your ratio of sugar And we'll get into that in a second. But let's start with the pear because when we do anything with roasting, that's gonna go first as you're cooking the rest of your food. So I cleaned this pear already. I love the pear with spots on it, okay? Because that means it's gonna be really sweet and you want this caramelized in the oven. That's what we're doing. We're doing like a roasted pear amaranth porridge that is like you can make this even the night before and then have it that breakfast. So it's like doing like an oatmeal, right? That's the comparison I can do. So the pear here, spots mean good, right? Sugar means sweet. All right, now I'm gonna cut it in half. I have okay. So I cut it in half, and I'm gonna take a small spoon, really small, right? And then just core it. It should be soft already if it's a pear that's sweet. And I'm just gonna make a small circle, and then scoop it out. So I'm decoring it. You can see that there. Okay? Really easy to do. You could use the spoon. You don't have to get a special, thing just to decore it. I know that there's special, decors, but it's just use a spoon. Circle, right? Kind of scoop it out. Okay? It should be soft enough to do that. And there's a little string that sometimes is attached to the pear here. Whoop. A little string there. You could take that string out if you like. It's really not a big deal, but sometimes I take it out. Okay? So we have our pears decored. I only put 2 in here because I made more that are actually done, and I'll show you in a second. But we're gonna put it in the oven for 360. Actually, you could do 350. You could raise it. It depends on your time. So you can go higher with less time. But I mean, if you're doing this the night before because you want, the effect of the pears, 350. 350 for like 30 minutes to 40 minutes. What you're looking for is a nice brownie. And you're gonna get that also by putting a little sugar. I put this type of agave sugar. Can you see? It's blue agave. And we're pan roasting these pears because it's gonna pair really nice with the amaranth. It can get really sweet, this dish, so you kind of have to be careful with how much sweetener you're gonna put in this part because pears are already sweet. I like a little sweetness in the breakfast in the morning, depending. Some people like salty. There's options for that too, obviously like tofu scramble and stuff. But this is more on the sweeter side, just like oatmeal when you would put like syrup or something in the oatmeal. I put agave, so we have agave. I pour the agave on here slightly so that it's a coat, and I just stick it in the oven, okay, 350 degrees for, I want to say 30 minutes, but keep checking on it because it's not, it's gonna, if you have a big pear, I don't want to give you a certain time, and then you get 30 minutes, and you're like, why is it still looking like it's not cooked? But what you're looking for is this, and I'm going to zoom in closer to show you real quick. You're looking for your pears to come out like this. So it's curling at the edge here and it's browning and it's basically caramelized. You see the stickiness here of the it is so good. So you can put them face down. If you face them down in the oven, they will cook really fast because it creates like a little juice oven in there and it could just basically melt away. So keep checking up on them and also face them up after a while. Like you could do face down to cook them faster and like get it soft and then face up to get it a little browner on the edges because they will, if they're sweet and everything and face them down. I've had that problem before where like I forgot about it and basically all that juicy stuff just evaporates. So make sure you face it up. It is so delicious. You could eat them just like this. Like this is just agave and pear. So good. Okay? So we're gonna leave this on the side now because this is gonna go on top of our amaranth. And we're gonna put the amaranth now. Well, I already put the amaranth, but I'll show you. So we have our amaranth seeds, right? These are the seeds. And I put about 1 cup because I'm making this just for myself to eat today. And 1 cup will seriously go a long way. It's like rice. I don't want to say it doubles, but it almost does. I'm going to show you right now what it looks like. I'm going to bring the camera just slightly closer. because this is, and the liquid I use for the amaranth. So again, today I'm making it like a porridge. Here, get it a little closer. All right, much better, right? All right, so I'm gonna stir this up and show you real quick. So it looks like, hold on, this is like that layer that dries up. Okay, so it looks like oatmeal, the amaranth, right? And you're going to treat it almost like oatmeal, but you have to make sure you're not gonna burn the bottom of the pan, and you keep stirring it. I put, in this one specifically, I put banana, this one, banana almond, because I wanted to try it different, and it does taste good. It tastes amazing. But I usually use coconut milk. Okay, so for 1 can of coconut milk, it's about a cup of amaranth. I will write down the recipe for you guys. But I actually add more water as well because the amaranth takes a lot to cook. Like it will cook off the coconut milk before it cooks itself. So when you're adding the coconut milk, you're gonna get that flavor, get a creamy texture to it, but also add water to help the process of the amaranth just cook along. And then eventually the water will be absorbed or will be evaporated, and you'll get something like this. Hold on. So I actually put water in this and the coconut and the milk, the plant-based milk, and after a while you just keep messing with it. And what you're looking for is the seeds to go from a white to a clear. I'll show you right now. See, the seeds look very white and now they're clear. They're almost translucent. Okay, that's how you want the amaranth to look. We're cooking amaranth today. Amaranth. This is an amaranth porridge. So somebody's asking there, so we're cooking amaranth. This is an ancient grain, native to Guatemala and Mexico, but we are relearning how important this was to our ancestors. This was used for medicine. This has zinc. I have it written down. So this has, first of all, for everyone wondering, protein, high in protein, 14 grams of protein for 1 cup. Okay, I used to make these for my clients who work out. Like, this is an excellent food for morning. It's gluten free, full of iron when you eat the leaves as well. The leaves have more iron than spinach, has fiber, magnesium, calcium. Um, it's just like an all around amazing food. I recommend you eat it. It's like oatmeal. It pops in your mouth too a little bit because it's a seed. It's like quinoa, but you're cooking it as a porridge. It's very similar to quinoa, right? I recommend you look it up. It is such a great. So I put coconut milk in this one. I also put some agave, and if you want to make it sweeter, add some vanilla. You know, you can depend. It depends on if you want this sweeter in the morning. If you want to be more a little bit more high fiber, healthier. It usually looks like this when it's not a seed. Okay, it actually would be blooming now in November. And I'm gonna tell you what I usually add to. I add sunflower butter to the end product. So we're gonna plate this in a moment, but I'm gonna show you all the things I add when it's breakfast and all the things when I add when I just like want to eat it, like maybe as a sweet. You can make this as pudding and put chocolate in it. You can so we did stews, right? You can make it with stews. Okay, so this type of seed is so absorbent of any flavor. I could put banana, pears, or whatever in here, and it'll taste just like that. You can even make it a salty type of dish. Um, yeah, see, it looks like so little. It's like very little seeds. And the seeds are from in here, and they take the seeds and they crush them like this. This also can be used for tea, and it looks really pretty. The tea, it changes the color of the water. So this is the tea form that I found on. Hold on, I'm gonna show you the store. The one moment, I'm gonna show you real quick how it looks in the bag. Okay. All right. So here we go. So this is, you can have it as a tea. The Aztecs and the Mayans used to use this as medicinal purposes for all those things I said before. It has minerals, it has the protein, it hits all amino acids. You're not lacking anything when you're eating this. What's something else I wanted to mention? Inflammation. Excuse me. Okay, it comes in different colors. So this is red, right? It comes in different types of blooms. Sometimes it's looked as a weed, but it's really not a weed. You can eat this weed, like dandelions. Dandelions for a long time, excuse me, even for me, it looked like weeds. And I put them in my salad now. But they're really bitter, dandelions. Amaranth turns out it's not so bitter, so you can add it with onions and saute it. I've been watching so many things on YouTube, what you could do with amaranth. I really recommend you look it up. So let's plate this though. I'm going to show you real quick again. I should have bought my water upstairs. Okay, look at that. It looks like a porridge, right? Because I put coconut, excuse me, coconut and water. But I also put sweetener. You can choose your own type of sweetener. You can put sugar if you'd like. You can put even, look, hold on one second. You could even put sweetened coconut milk. I would be careful though if you're trying to be healthy putting this in because it'll make it really sugary. But again, like some people want to make it as a dessert. Some people put this cold and put it as a pudding. There's bread recipes with this online. There's so many. All right, enough talking. Plate it so you could see it on plate. Hold on. Again, one last time. Look at that cheesecake. Oh my goodness. Oh, for anyone watching right now, really quick, November 26th, we are giving food away. Lentil soup we're doing with Beyond Meat. We're going to be making really amazing sandwiches. Join us November 26th for the People's Harvest in Brooklyn. All right. Sorry, I had to put that plug in there because I'm showing you food. And by the way, come get some free food. All right. Tell everybody we're going to be in Brooklyn. We're going to be serving some amazing free food. This is from last week. Just putting that plug in from last week. Now I'm going to actually take this plate. Take the cheesecake out. Now I'm going to plate this. So you can see the plating. We're going to turn this off so I don't burn myself. Let's see if it'll pour. Yeah, it should pour. It's pouring very slowly. All right, I'm just gonna scoop it in. Why not? It's porridge. Okay. So I compare it to oatmeal, but it's gluten free. Remember this. This is seeds. This is not a grain per se. It's a seed, but it's what they call like a pseudo grain, something like that, a pseudo cereal, because it has all the benefits of cereal without the gluten. And actually, I think it has more benefits than cereal, honestly. When it sold me on the iron and all the magnesium and calcium and the protein, the amount of protein that's on here, this could be for people going to the gym. Like, it's definitely not for just, all right, there we go. So we have the amaranth. And in this one, I used, like, again, I said, I used an almond. Can you see? Hold on. I'm trying to make it that it, let's move this over here. I'm going to make space so you can see everything. All right. Yummy. Yes, People's Harvest, November 26th. Okay. This is the amaranth. I'm going to put how this looks here. Oh, yeah. All right. Now, I'm going to add my sweetener afterwards. Why am I going to add the sweetener afterwards? Because I'm trying not to eat it too sweet. All right. I want you to see it all. All right. Can you see me? All right. So I'm going to add my sweetener now to the amaranth porridge, just a little bit. I like to decorate it like this. Remember, that's a lot, actually. I said just a little bit, and I went crazy with it. But usually add a little bit. If you would like, you can pour a little coconut milk more on the top. So when people eat it, they're getting still the creaminess. Because sometimes as it sits out, just like oatmeal would, you know, you put a little milk. I put a little coconut milk on top more. Also, my favorite thing to put for having this for breakfast is it already has a lot of protein. Why not add more protein? If you're going to the gym and you have a certain macro that you want to hit, macro number, sunflower seed butter. And I put that on top. And you put a dollop in the middle, okay? Because the protein in 2 tablespoons, 7 grams. 1 cup of amaranth is 14 grams. It's, I mean, depending on what your goals are for either losing weight or gaining muscle, this is still a good food for either or. Also, for breakfast, to add more fiber and excellent content, here we go, omegas, flaxseed meal. Okay? So this is just my version of the amaranth, like what I do with it. And I sprinkle. Okay? It's healthy, but it tastes good. Trust me. That coconut milk in there. You could add cinnamon. I add a little vanilla too. Get it more sweeter. And then you gotta add what it took the longest is the roasted pears. So I add one, that, and two. Oh man, this looks so good. So good. And if I want to be fancier, throw some nuts on there, whatever, and some seeds and things and make it look pretty. But this is it. This is how the amaranth is. Okay? I'll show you up close. All right? It's so good. It's really hot right now on my hand. But here we go. You see? And this is just with all the ingredients that we put. This is like a breakfast meal. Mm. I had to. It's so good. And with the sweetness of the pear together, because the nuttiness of the sunflower and the flaxseed, it's like nutty and sweetie. It's sweet. It's really good for morning. It's so good. You see, like trying to be healthy before the new year. Maybe I should put out a meal plan for you guys with this because I used to lose so much weight eating my own food when I did meal client classes. Because I love creating meals for them. And this was one of my favorite meals I created because I would eat it for breakfast. So this is amaranth with plant-based milk, water, which I'll give you the ratios on the recipe. We roasted some pears or caramelized them in the oven with some agave. We sprinkled a little bit more agave on the top here because we didn't really put it in the pudding, in the porridge. Then we put flaxseed, right? Flax seeds to give it some omegas. So you're hitting all your nutrients here, right? And aside from the nutrients already in the amaranth, the zinc, the magnesium, the iron, the protein, the amino acids, hitting all the amino acids within the protein groups. So I'm telling you, this is really great. Next week we'll probably go over a different grain that I have in mind that I use. I won't give it away yet, but I really like the series of finding our, recipes that are more indigenous to just indigenous in general, not to any region specifically, but indigenous. Because a lot of these recipes, as we learned, were lost to anybody. These foods considered like this is considered like amaranth was I don't consider amaranth like Latin food, and I should because it's from Latin Americas. So this idea of certain foods that we're used to, like quinoa, amaranth, a lot of people look at that as like white people food kind of thing. Like, okay, when I'm gonna eat quinoa, like I'm not gonna go eat it at a Mexican restaurant normally, but these things were normal staples. These foods, amaranth, were staples, and we really have to rediscover for ourselves what ancient food really was. I think a lot of people misunderstand, like our ancestors eating meat all the time. They did not. They were so healthy. They ate amaranth. I mean, this is still used today in certain areas for tea, for medicine and stuff. So look into the benefits and try it out. Let me know if you try this out. I'm gonna post this recipe. It's so good. So we have the caramelized pear. I'm trying to see if I remember anything else. No, I think yeah, talked about amaranth a lot. But no, I can't express enough how annoyed I was when I read. I'm gonna read to you what Bob's Bill wrote. Hold on. All right. So it says, this tiny grain, actually a seed, has a rich history dating back 8,000 years when it was first cultivated by the Mesoamerican um, Aztec, ancient Aztecs, who relied on amaranth as a staple and used it as religious rituals, earning the name supergrain of the Aztecs. Um, and it, so, Bob's is teaching us that it used to be an Aztec grain. Why do we have to learn it from a company that is taking food from another? It's just, I mean, this is information that is lost to us because of colonization, and we're trying to give back the information. This is so healthy. I should include my diet again. Yes. Uh, this is hard to find in France. Oh, I believe. Look in Indian stores. Indian supermarkets might have this because it also grows in India. It's in the tropical climates. So in tropical climates, you will find that it grows now. So I think people have been growing it too in California and here, when places that it's hot year all year round. So even though it's native to certain countries, it is now grown in a lot of countries. So I would look in supermarkets that are not like Indian supermarkets, Spanish supermarket, maybe Mexican supermarkets. But this I found, this is Bob's Rib, But also pro tip, in the the food, what's the name of that supermarket on Cartillo in Brooklyn? Food co-op. The food co-op sells amaranth by the pound for one something, for $1 and change. So you can buy this by the pound at the food co-op. It's in Brooklyn at Cartelio. I believe a lot of bulk places would have amaranth now. And I remember going to the food co-op there and buying this for when I was doing my work with clients and buying this for like $1 and change for a whole pound. And like I said, this stretches. This will go a long way. Just this little bit made this and more. Like this is heavy. I don't know if you could see how much it is in there. But it's so good. Hold on, I need another bite. I'm over here talking and I took that one bite and like it still stays in your mouth and you want to take another bite. Mm. My favorite part of this is the sunflower seed butter. Adding sunflower seed butter to the amaranth gives it like a breakfast feel because of the nutty flavor from the sunflower seeds. And it's still gluten free. This is seeds. These are seeds. So you're getting that kind of like oatmeal, homey like porridge without the gluten. So if you're gluten free for those health reasons, this is a good option for you. If you are diabetic and you're eating this, be careful of the sugar that you're adding. And this does fluctuate your glucose, but in a good way. I've seen a lot of studies. The recipe is going to be posted on Instagram. So I have to actually post the last two recipes, so I'm a little behind. But it's going to be on the Instagram. If you kind of scroll through the Black Veg Fest Instagram, you'll see some of the other recipes that have been posted. So I'll generally take a picture and then post the recipe together on there. Okay? But this is this is one of my favorites to show you for the new people coming in. This is an amaranth porridge with coconut milk, and we put agave, and we put sunflower butter and flaxseed. What else? I think that's it. And pears. Any other questions? I mean, there's so much information now about amaranth online. When I first learned about, I think, I've been cooking for so long, but when I went vegan and did the cooking business, I mean, it was a whole nother set of learning about like red rice, Bhutan rice, they call it, from a town in Bhutan. That supposedly you can't even live there. It's only for like even tourists are not allowed to go a certain, like, you just learn a lot about foods and the history. It's so important to learn the history because like I said, this is a Mexican grain, and I did not know that. Like, I was blown away. I was like, this is Mexican? What? I felt like I was learning about quinoa for the first time. I'm like, why do I feel so stupid? This should have been like known. But again, there's a reason why it wasn't known. So food justice is always important. When we're talking about veganism and we're talking about accessibility to food, we have to realize it was built around a system of injustice, a system of racism and colonization. So access to those food was based on a lot of reasons, a lot of factors. But now that we have the internet, so grateful for the internet. But we're learning now again to eat healthier based on knowledge. We can't just say like, oh, our ancestors were cavemen and they ate meat. Like, they did not. Now we're learning they did not. And a lot of them did not survive off of meat. They survived off of vegetables and grains. So surviving is different than just eating something back then, you know? Surviving off things that could be stored and last longer. That's vegan food is definitely more sustainable in that way. So plant-based 9 months. Look, I was plant-based for like a good year before I heard about amaranth. I was like, what's this? Like, I'm still learning some stuff. So it that's one thing about veganism that I really love. It's a learning process. But we're relearning things that were blocked, right? Like I said, in the 1500s, when I learned about that, the Spaniards banned the Mexican, the Aztecs from using amaranth when they conquered them because they saw the power and the independence of this, knowing that they could feed themselves, that they didn't need anybody else. Because when you're trying to control people, right, and you're trying to use them for work or use them for labor in unfair ways, you control the food supply because they need to work for food, right? They need to work for their food instead of growing their own food. Amaranth is a known weed in certain places that you can eat. Like, I was watching a video when this woman was like, if people didn't know that this is like spinach, they would just throw this food out. And this is so healthy. This is like, and it's less bitter than dandelions. So that for me is sold because dandelions, as much as it's healthy and everything, it's bitter. And I'm not crazy about that. Like, yes, we have our limits, right? With certain foods when it comes to like how good they are. Like, I love all vegetables, don't get me wrong, but certain vegetables, like, put more salt on there, put a little more sauce. It has to have sauce. So yeah, it really is important to know why these foods we weren't taught, you know. Um, and when Spanish conquered a lot of uh, the Latin Americas, a lot of the information was lost, a lot of it. And I want to get into more of a series of re-educating ourselves on real history, So if anyone wants to send any professors or anyone my way so we could interview, please let me know. Speaking of that, it just came to the top of my head. And because I really want to delve into ancient foods and what that looks like for us, and get in touch with real ancestry food. But again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about amaranth. Like, it's a deep conversation about, it's not just food. Like, we're really talking about access to food here, right? Because like I said, as I was researching amaranth, it upset me to know a lot of the information that was coming out about why this is not known to us. Like, why when I talked about quinoa, did I not know it was from Mexico when I first went vegan? I thought it was just like, I hate to say it like that. I thought it was like American white people food. Like, if you're ordering quinoa and kale salad, I wasn't ordering quinoa and kale salad before going vegan, but and now I'm realizing that the access to foods that they have that are considered expensive were staples growing in places that we're coming from. So it's kind of sad and fucked up, excuse me, but it's at the same time, now we have the power to take that power back, to take that information and education back, right? So we're educating ourselves in things that our ancestors ate and did. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about amaranth real quick. I'm going to show you real quick. Look, amaranth, there's a seed, gluten-free. This is how it looks on the branches. Actually, this is a little crushed up because this is the tea form that is in the bag. There you go. Just trying to, there we go, zoom in, there you go. If you can see the seeds, they fall out, these little seeds. I'm making a hot mess over here, but it's okay. Okay, so you see the seeds coming out and stuff? Those seeds are what they sift and they get these seeds. There's also, I wish I could have got the leaves to this, but the leaves to this plant are just as healthy. I cannot reiterate that enough. The leaves, I was reading, have more iron than spinach, are less bitter than dandelions, have minerals, magnesium, calcium, zinc. Yep, that's the ones. Okay. And not to mention the amount of um of protein that's in here. So 1 cup of amaranth is 14 grams of protein. Isn't that crazy? So we have our I put sunflower butter in here. I'm sorry, it's so good. People eat their food, right? When they when they have cooking shows. So you know, it's the peanut butter kind of gets stuck. Well, not, it's not peanut butter, sorry, it's sunflower butter. Okay. So good. Really good for breakfast. It's super filling. Like for breakfast, this looks pretty and all, and I would serve this when I do meal plans. But I eat half of this. It's so filling. Even my clients who were eating this, um, sure, I'll go over the steps in 1 second from how we made this. Hold on. So it is so filling. Like even eating this, you're gonna eat half and feel super full. This is such a great filling meal. Really quickly, how I did it. We just kind of finished everything. We're just having a conversation about amaranth right now before we end, but I'll go over how we did this real fast. Okay? So I put a lot of stuff in there too. So we have the amaranth. We boiled it with water and coconut milk, or your choice of plant-based milk. It doesn't have to be coconut. I just happen to like the coconut flavor really coming through to this. So that's my preference, but you can do any oat milk. Just remember, when you're putting the plant-based milk with the amaranth and boiling it, you're going to have to put water still because it absorbs everything. And it really does like act like rice. Like it'll evaporate the rice or absorb it, the water. But you want some flavoring in that water too. So I put the coconut milk and it makes it creamier. Okay, you see how creamy? So the milk is making it creamy. You could just do water if you're looking for a healthier way. I don't want to say healthier because the milks are, I guess, healthier, but a less processed way would be milk, would be water, just water. So we're looking for translucency we're looking for it to turn translucent. Sometimes you can see it just go clear with ever, like I'll show you real quick. Translucent. Okay? That's what you're looking for when you're making it in porridge. After you're done, I would sweeten it afterwards. We sweetened it with agave. You can use agave, you can use sugar, I use sometimes like maple syrup. If I don't have agave in the house, I'll use maple syrup to sweeten it. But also be careful with the sweetening because remember, we have the caramelized roasted pears, which are sweet. So you don't want to add more sweet and then you have this sweet. It's just going to be really sweet, but it'll be still healthy, but it's just a little too sweet. So be careful with that. And then I also added sunflower butter on top, and I added some flaxseed meal to sprinkle. You could add chia seeds. You could add more. Like this is the possibility to endless. I add seeds sometimes, sunflower seeds too on top of it to give it more texture. This can be used for breakfast. This type of porridge does not have to be sweet. Like you can make it savory and put it in a stew with like chili. And instead of putting like quinoa in the chili, you put amaranth. It has the same type of texture and it's a nutty flavor. So you can go with salty or you can go with sweet with this. Okay. Again, there's the tea you can make with the leaves. just make sure you get a good little basket because it will fall. These are little seeds that fall apart out and spiky too. Um, and then this is how it looks in the seed form. Uh, Again, we went through some information on why we don't know about these grains, because apparently they're grains of discovery, not grains of rediscovery, which he should have said rediscovered to him, because white people like to discover things and then tell us we have to pay $1,000 for something that that doesn't cost that much to but as you know now, and right, because we're teaching each other, this can be bought in bulk for like $1 and change. This is native to Mexico and Guatemala. This is a great staple for protein. I don't ever want to hear people tell me that veganism does not have protein. Like when I heard about how much protein this has, no wonder. I have a client who is a trainer, and he's a vegan trainer, and he would just love this. Like he was like, this just gives me energy for the day. It lets me go. And I'm like, I know, I just learned about it too, and I put it on the menu, and I was like, I'm excited about it too. So this is a really good meal for if you want to lose weight or gain muscle. Okay, it really depends on what you want to throw in there. It has plenty of fiber already and plenty of protein. Excuse me, I'm like talking. I don't have my cup of water like I usually do. But just real quick, one more time. That's the sunflower butter. We put some stuff in there. I drizzled the agave a little bit on top as well. So good. This is going to be my lunch, I guess. But thank you for joining us today. Don't forget, every Wednesday, I'm going to be here at 12 o'clock. We're going to try to talk about so many things, try to teach each other. Please let me know if you have anyone who has information on indigenous foods. That is when I'm doing a call out to see if anyone knows. Please message us or message me at sabrosadigana@gmail. Thank you again for joining us. Today we talked about amaranth. We talked about what we can do. We talked about the history. We talked about the messed up history. And next week we'll be going through, I think we'll do 2 more grains, and then we'll try to get an interview in with someone. We're doing the People's Harvest November 26th. The People's Harvest. Come check us out in Brooklyn. I'm going to be making a really great hearty lentil soup. Also, we're going to be doing some sandwiches from Tofurky. I mean, the sandwiches are good. Like, if you didn't come to our rally and try one of the sandwiches, you missed out with the garlic aioli. So we try to, we're giving back to the community. This is reclaiming, okay, our space and knowledge. Thank you again for joining us, or joining me here on the podcast for Black VegFest Breakout, episode 39. Yes. Again, I'm your host. Wait, I want to put this other food here too. I'm your host, Jillian, making you drool every 12 o'clock on Wednesday. So good. Like, this is, we're going into fall meal, right? Like, this is pumpkin cheese, sweet potato cheesecake. This is amaranth with, like, pears. Pears are in season right now, I think, because there's so many, and they're so sweet right now. So this is really good to eat the pears roasted. Throw them in the oven, like pears, and don't be shy with the spots. If you see spots on a pear, it's a good thing. It means it's sweeter. Same thing with the bananas. So learning to eat foods like this is really good for times like this. It's really warm. Find the recipe. I will post both of these recipes on the Instagram. Okay? Promise. Okay? I've just been trying to organize everything. But yes, with these recipes will go online for you. Share with your family. Try them out for holidays, especially this recipe. I'm telling you, my son keeps eating the pie. I'm like, you got to chill out with the pie. But he loves this, and it's just because it's not so strong on the sweet potato and it's not so strong on the cheesecake. Play with the recipe yourself, but it's possible to make really good vegan food for this holidays. And thank you again. Thank you again for joining me. All right, I'll stop rambling and showing you food, and I'm going to start eating. Thanks again, and I'll see you.